Welcome to Work Better, a podcast where we think about work and ways to make it better. Welcome to Work Better, Ingrid. I am really happy that you are here today. You've made a really important distinction between joy and happiness. Could you talk us through that a little bit, just so people understand when we're talking about joy? What do we mean?
I think this is a really helpful distinction, especially when it comes to work. So when we talk about happiness, happiness is a broad evaluation of how you feel about your life over time. It has to do with whether you have a sense of meaning and purpose in life, how connected you feel to other people, of course, how you feel about your work and your health. All of those things go into this complex equation that we call happiness. And sometimes it can be hard to know if you're happy in a given moment, right? Something at home is bothering you, but work is going really great. And so it's hard to know how happy you are. But joy is much simpler and more immediate. So when psychologists use the word joy, what they mean is an intense momentary experience of positive emotion. And this is something that makes us smile and laugh and feel like we want to jump up and down. We feel it not just in our minds, but in our bodies as well. It's a visceral feeling. And so if happiness is how good we feel over time, joy is about how we feel right now in the moment. And to me, this is really powerful because you can find moments of joy even when you're not happy. So life can be hard. We can be going through a difficult time, and yet you can still find these small moments of joy.
I love that so much because I think it just gives me hope to think about it in that way, that we can find these ways to spark joy. So I want to get into that a little bit because you also make a really important distinction in something that I had never really thought about before, but the term aesthetics. I've tended to think about aesthetics as being maybe a little bit more decorative. I don't want to say superficial, but there's the really high performance functioning things in our lives that are important, and that aesthetics are kind of nice. But you argue otherwise, that aesthetics play a much more important role, particularly in our mental health. Can you tell us more about that, Ingrid?
Well, you're exactly right that is the sort of standard connotation of aesthetics, right? That they are about beauty, that they're about art. But the origin of the word aesthetics comes from the Greek asthenemē, which means I feel, I sense, I perceive. So aesthetics are really information that comes in through our senses. And I think that, many of us discount that information, that those experiences, those sensorial experiences in our day-to-day well-being. But in fact, they can be really important. They can influence us on an unconscious level. They can energize us. They can calm us. And I think when you look at the modern work environment was designed based on a model of productivity that really looks at humans almost like we're machines, right?
Right.
How many units of X work can we complete in Y time, and how do we squeeze the most productivity out of it? It's almost as if, we're on an assembly line and we're trying to just squeeze more productivity out of us. But the reality is that we now understand that it's not linear in that way, and that actually human attention is not something that you can just force and direct, but that our attention increases and decreases. So for example, exposure to nature can restore our attention, restore our ability to concentrate. So having plants in your workspace can sort of help with that, because otherwise our attention gets depleted, and over time we wear out and we're unable to focus. And so if we just put ourselves in a blank room, we sort of lose out on a lot of the benefits that these aesthetics have for our well-being, for our productivity, our creativity, and so on.
So I would love to just go a little deeper into that one, because you've had some really pragmatic tips, if you will, about how to infuse aesthetics and little bits of joy into our day. I know Rebecca, our producer, still organizes her bookshelves they're color coded. And I think that was something.
I do too. I love them.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah. For the designers who are listening today, Could you talk a little bit about what are some more of those kinds of things that we should be thinking about in terms of shapes and textures and materiality, etc.?
Well, let's start with just the basic idea of bringing more sensory stimulation into the work environment. So, one of my favorite studies on this, researchers took people and they put them into what they called lean work environments, which is like your standard beige, gray cubicle. And then they put them into enriched environments, which are environments that have art and plants and color. And what they found is that people are 15% more productive in an enriched workspace. So, just starting with plants, art, having some more stimulation rather than seeing that as a distraction, understanding that that can really actually help people focus. And then what I think is so interesting about this study is that when they let people choose which art and which plants and have some control over their workspace, that number doubled. It more than doubled to 32%. So people were 32% more productive in what they call an empowered enriched workspace, where people have some control over their surroundings. So I think those things are a baseline.
We'll release episodes weekly each season. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just search for Work Better. And make sure to subscribe to get new episodes as soon as they're released.